Hey, Jason Fladlin here, and this is the too long didn't watch the full module for Module 2 Other People's Expert Knowledge, how we're going to package that and profit from it. Throughout this whole module, here's exactly what we're going to cover. First, we're going to define the purpose, which is getting leverage, specializing in extracting knowledgeable information in a way that you can market it with a specific focus on a certain type of marketing, and by positioning yourself to be at the end of the money chain, where it seems like that's where a lot of money is made. The closer you get to where the money exchanges hand, it seems the easier and the more of it you make. Why specifically should you consider this as part of your arsenal for making money online? Well, free money, first of all. If you can make somebody money they otherwise wouldn't have made, they will give you percentages of that all the time. You can pick and choose which ones that you want to take advantage of, the laydowns, the give-me's, and then as you get better, you can trade up and work with bigger and bigger names. And the beautiful thing here is you are the one focused on the customer. They only need to focus on the content. So that's how it's win, win, win. The four main parts that we'll discuss throughout this module is deal structure, interviewing them to get the content, how we're going to produce it, and then specifically how we're going to monetize it. When it comes to deal structure, we have to talk about how the money will be distributed, who gets the leads, who gets the other assets, and some additional considerations. Money can be distributed even, Steven. That's usually the simplest way to start. You can give them a bigger piece of the pie if you get something else that is long-term more valuable, and you can cap royalties or you can make them in perpetuity. Lead flow can look like this. Do you get the leads? Do they get the leads? Do you both get the leads? Does somebody get the leads but somebody else gets access to them? Typically when you're starting, you're going to get the list, and we'll keep it simple. And then over time, you can negotiate other reasons and things that you might find even more advantageous to you. The real question that you'll have to answer, and at first, again, we do it on a handshake basis when you're starting, usually, because it's the easiest way to get money, but over time, who owns the product itself? Who owns the rights to market that product? Is there other considerations as well? We dive in and talk about that. When it comes to getting the content from the expert and putting it into a format that we can sell, there's four main ways of doing that: live interaction, interviewing, written, and repurposing it. When it comes to live interaction, this is the highest value. It's also the most challenging. It is very powerful for you if you want to get down in this, because lots of experts and lots of marketers either don't want to mess with the tech, or they're afraid of it, or they don't even know it exists. Event-based opportunities are both the easiest to sell to the customer and the easiest to get multiple experts on board, and it's a good way for you to dip your toes in the water before you start doing live interaction for your own products and your own marketing. Another way to get content is for an interview. This is a lot easier because it's done in a laboratory, not live in front of people. You can easily transform it into additional derivative and supplemental content. You can theme it by using multiple experts, of interviewing them and then taking the best pieces. And you utilize the framework that we taught in Module 1, which is the purpose, the why, the what, and the how, to very easily assemble these raw materials and these pieces that you get as a result of the interview. If you wanted to go the written content route, there's some good reasons and some not so good reasons to do this, but it is a consideration. And if you crowdsource it and get multiple people to contribute written content, there's a lot of ways you can make money up front with that, straight up profit, or even use it as lead gen. You can chunk down from bigger products, help them create derivative, smaller products up front that get you money, get them leads, and everybody wins. And you can actually, the written word is the easiest to put somebody else's name on. It's hard to do that if you're interviewing them or if you and they are on video, but you can be completely invisible if you wish to, if you reduce it down to the written word. If you want to repurpose content, you really look at things that might lend themselves to additional formats and looking at opportunities that the person knows they should exploit but currently aren't, and you can help them to exploit that. You can even create these content pieces in advance and then shop them around, first to the person that was the biggest inspiration, but if not, you can retool it. And then over time, you can even make this systematic to where you can do this for everybody, and you can have it done for you as well. I give some very specific examples from when I was doing this live at a meetup in person to doing it over a web-based event. Interviews where somebody interviewed me, and they made money. They paid me, I'm pretty sure. And then they interviewed me and took the product, and I was okay with that. And we discussed that. Getting people together to specifically create content around one hook is very powerful. And repurposing existing products, in this particular case, transliteration, of going from one to another localized language. An E-Class member has done that. And then you can take a technical approach and update it to match the current, not what happened in 2009, but what's going on right now. When it comes to actually producing this content, your real question is, do we go deep or do we go narrow? Deep would be where we get very, very deep into a specific topic, and narrow would be we cover a lot of different angles more superficially related to a topic or a problem. The question is, do you want to do one single expert or many experts? Usually when you're starting, you'll start with just one, although there's instances where it might make sense for you to do more than one. And then do you keep it with one media, the media that you capture it in, or do you add multiple media to that? And again, usually when you're starting, you do single media, and then over time, you can consider adding more to it. Usually at first, again, you stay conventional, and then if you wish to be experimental, I talk to you about when that is a good idea and what that looks like. I give specific examples, so smoothie deep versus smoothie narrow. One way is we get into a step-by-step process. The other way is we interview 7 different experts on 7 different ways. And then I give an actual example here of when Kieran interviewed me, and we went very deep on one specific subject. And then he turned around and sold that and made money. Here's an example of narrow, where there's lots of interviews with real people around dyslexia. One expert versus many experts. So here's an example of one expert with an additional consideration that we talk about in the course that's kind of neat. And here's an example with many experts, single media or multimedia. And there are considerations for both. Usually, again, like I said, we start with single, but hey, we can go multi if we want to. And same thing for conventional and experimental. Now, with experimental, there's 3 considerations. If you do want to add a little extra flavor and spice, you can theme it, you can take the forbidden route, or you can actually make it in mind to keep it going forward as a series. Now, when it comes to monetizing it, you can monetize it, you can rely on them to monetize it, or you can do a combination of both. You can either set it up in a way that hopefully leads to them promoting, or you can make them, as part of your requirement before you even start working together, agree to promote it. And there's pluses and minuses of both, so we break that down. You can be the vendor when they're your affiliate, or you can be their affiliate. And we talk about both of those, and we can even increase incentive packages to make performance even better than what it normally would be. And so should you do it or should they do it in monetization? There's 2 specific scenarios that we go into where one makes more sense for you, one makes more sense for them, and you can actually engineer both of these scenarios. We break down specific traffic mechanisms to consider based on the experts that you're reaching out to, how you can immediately leverage their inbuilt audiences. These are the 8 best ones that you see right in front of you. An example of, do you ask for money later, ask for promotion later after you do some very clever psychological things, or do you put it in up front? And here's a specific example of somebody putting it in up front that I agreed to do in a promotion sequence. And again, do you pay it? Do they pay it? Do you take the money? Do they take it? Who's the affiliate? Who's the vendor? Incentives, benchmarks, hard caps, deal flow, all these are potential incentives that you can dangle the carrot to get even better performance. We usually don't start there, but that's something you can aspire to move towards. Specific models of monetization. There's 3 main ones we focus on: the one-off, the lineup, and the event magic. And then we give step-by-step for each of these. So step-by-step with the one-off, step-by-step with the lineup, and then the event magic. Not only do we go step by step, but we break down some really specific reasons why it's super important for you to do this and how it benefits you, the presenter, and the customer. Eventually, all of us should at least do this one time because the money is so good and the list is even better. And then I explain some of the things you have to be aware of if you're going to be the organizer of this event. Best practices to make you successful. What you can do for presenters to get the best presenters and get the most out of them. And customers, how you can benefit the customers so they love you and they buy from you as a result of this. We break down specifically how to do the interviews. I give 8 different types of questions that you can ask with very specific examples of each and every one of these questions, such as hypothetical. If you could wave a magic wand over blank, what would happen? Constraints. If you had to describe blank in less than 500 words, what would you say? Things like that. Timing. If you have a minimum time to start, how does that change things? How much time should be devoted to blank? Those types of questions. Simplicity. What do you think people focus on that they shouldn't? If you could reduce blank down to just 4 things, what would they be? Insights. How do you know when a problem is solved? What do other experts taught us effective to get you know better? So I show you how to take these general questions and fit them to specifics. And then the beautiful thing is when you create your outline, which we still use the same outline we do in Module 1, we use this outline, but then we change the contents of the outline into questions and allow the expert to provide the answer to that. So experience, reframes, behaviorals. Now, how do you context these experts and what do you say? Here's the process for that. You create the hit list, you figure the hook out, you craft your message, then you make your contacts. So here's ways that you can go to help you with your hit list. Here's specifics on how you craft your message. based on best practices. And this is the very most important thing you'll ever discover when it comes to contacting these people. If you get this, you can make so much money it's not even funny. I give you examples of how you can contact them, 6 specific ways. Other things you can do to really tip the scales in your favor. These are a little harder and a little bit more advanced, but boy, they can really open up the doors to profit. I even give tips on when you're conducting the interview, the best practices for that to get the best out of it, to get the best quality, to make them the happiest, whoever you're interviewing, and get a production ready to send to a customer. They pay and they get excited about it as well. We break that down. And lastly, hooks are so important for every product, and you should create the hook really before you create the product. So I define what the hook is. I give different types of hooks with specific examples, explaining each and every example and what's good about it. And then I give you the process for coming up with your hooks, how you can get them in advance of creating the product, how you can work backwards from them, how you can make them unique, pragmatic considerations, creative considerations, supercharging them through combo, believability, addition, feedback, as also consideration. So by the time you're done with this module, you will know immediately how to go out there and start soliciting experts who are happy to work with you, that can make you very quick cash with very little effort, and then how to parlay that to go even deeper if you wish to cover every major scenario and every major niche where this is going to be beneficial to you. And I'm going to love seeing your results once you put this into action.